This is 20 years old Game Boy Advance SP. Probably you had one in early 2003, or even you still have one laying somewhere in the box in the attic. What if I tell you that you can turn this piece of old crap into a modern looking portable console? I got your attention? So let's get started. Unfortunately, I didn't have my own Game Boy Advance SP, that's why I decided to search for it on eBay. Instead of one, I bought even two Game Boy consoles for only $88.99. Those were Game Boy Advance SP and Game Boy Color, both listed for parts. According to seller's description, Game Boy Advance SP had some issues with the screen and Game Boy Color had no sound. Pretty common issues. The photos provided in the listing showed that the Game Boy Advance SP was in a terrible condition, while the Game Boy Color was looking pretty nice. Once I received the parcel, it was time to unbox it. Here I got Game Boy Advance SP. The condition of this portable console is just horrible. The housing lost its original paint and is covered with lots of deep scratches all over it. The battery cover color does not match the original shell and must be from a different Game Boy. All the control buttons are present and the screen is not broken, but the inside shell looks as bad as the outside. The silicone pads on the screen housing were removed, which means that Game Boy was open before. Now let me try to turn it on and check if it even works. I can see a logo, but the screen is really dim. After inserting the game cartridge, I was able to run the game and confirm that all buttons work. The only problem I see is that LCD front led light button is not working. It can be a screen or motherboard issue. Now I will turn this device off and start the modding process. Let's the fun part begin. To start this assembly process, I need to remove one screw which holds the battery cover. Once it is done, I can remove the battery cover and get access to the battery. Luckily, someone already replaced a 20 years old battery with new one, and its condition looks good. Then I remove 4 screws that keep the back cover of the shell in place. Actually, there should be 6 screws, but only 4 were left in this Game Boy. The Game Boy motherboard is not in a best condition. Right away I can see that water damage sticker was colored in pink, which means this board had contact with water. Lots of corrosion on charging port and signs of dust are present inside. Ooh, that's disgusting. Next, I will remove 3 screws which holds the motherboard. The board could then be lifted up towards the back to expose the display ribbon cable. I unlatch the bail with my tweezers, then the ribbon can be pulled out of its connector. And yeah, more dust inside. The only pieces that I plan to transfer from old shell to new one are the hinges. In order to do that, I need to disassemble the display housing. I need to remove the screw which is located under the LCD ribbon cable. After that, hinge cover which was held by the previous removed screw can be pulled out. Next, I need to remove 5 screws which hold the screen in place. Once it was done, the rear display housing was able to come free. Then I could leave the old LCD out from the housing. Now I have full access to hinges and can start pulling them out. To make the process easier, I will close the shell and slightly move in the holding clips of each hinge with a plastic tool. Next, I will need to move shell into open position and with the help of small screwdriver, pull each hinge out. If everything was done properly, hinges should look undamaged. Here's how full GameBoy Advance SP disassembly look like. Before placing motherboard into a new shell, I will do a bit of cleaning. As a replacement, I decided to buy lime transparent shell. The shell came with pre-installed buttons and replacement plastic screen lens. First, I need to remove old hinges caps and clean them a bit. After that, I installed new caps that came with replacement housing. Next, I pulled out plastic screen lens, as I will be using new pre-laminated IPS Screen Module. Now I can move the shell into open position, and with a solid push, the hinges were clicked in place. If everything was done properly, the display should open and close with a click. Personally, I didn't like the pre-installed buttons in replacement shell, that's why I bought 2 more sets of transparent buttons. I was thinking between black and orange colors, but decided that black ones will be looking much better. Next, I removed all the pre-installed buttons from the new shell and replaced them with a set of transparent black ones. Once it was done, I placed a transparent cover for the console power LED lights. After the old speaker was cleaned a bit, I put it inside new housing as well. Now I can replace the shoulder buttons from the back housing. I released a spring with a pair of tweezers and removed the old grey button. Then I can put same spring to the new button and place it inside the bottom housing. With the help of tweezers, I will wind the spring around the hook in the plastic. Same I did for the right shoulder button. Next, I put a new power button and metal internal thread for a battery cover screw. For a screen replacement, I bought pre-laminated IPS Screen Module. The package includes IPS Screen Module, adapter ribbon cable, foam cover, and a welding wire which controls the screen brightness. The new shell is designed to use IPS screen kit, but if you are planning to reuse your old shell, some part of the rear display housing needs to be trimmed down to close properly. After removing the screen protector, I dropped a new IPS screen into the new housing. In order not to scratch new screen while finishing assembly, I placed same screen protector on the LCD module. To keep the converter ribbon cable in place, I put a piece of double-sided tape on the back and stuck it to the lower right corner of the screen. Now the connector from the screen module can be attached to the ribbon cable. To allow the cable to flex as display opens and closes, I need to loop the ribbon like this before pushing the end through the slot in the case. Then the foam cover can be put on the screen and the rear display housing can be set in place. Next, I screwed back the hinge cover. Once it was done, I assembled LCD housing by screwing back 5 screws. The replacement shell included 2 sets of screw covers, a clear ones and the black ones. I decided that black ones will look much better, so I put them in place. Next step will be soldering the wire to the ribbon cable. This will allow to control the brightness of the screen. Since I have already placed the buttons in the housing, I simply attached duct tape to save them from falling out. Then I prepared a test point Q12B for soldering the wire, reconnected the ribbon cable to the motherboard, and finally soldered the wire. Now I can remove the paper cover from the buttons and put the motherboard to its place. Next, I screw the motherboard back with 3 new screws. After placing the back cover of the housing, I can reinstall 6 more screws. As the battery which came inside this Game Boy looked in a pretty good condition, I decided to keep it. Next, I attached logo to the housing and we're almost done with upgrade. Personally, I love the transparent look of the game cartridge inside the console, that's why I decided not to place new sticker on the back. One final touch and console upgrade is finished. The transformation of the old GBA SP to new one is just outstanding. The new IPS Screen Module takes this console to a whole new level. The picture is clear, sharp and vibrant. Comparing old front-lit screen module, this looks like a totally different handheld console. Since I properly soldered the wire, I am able to adjust screen brightness with 10 different levels. And the screen brightness level is saved even after Game Boy was restarted. The new IPS screen viewing angles are great, and the battery life should not be much affected, as the new screen is more power efficient. The new shell hides a cool feature, it glows in the dark. I found the quality of the replacement parts pretty similar to the originals. I think this mod turned out to be a great success. I enjoyed the transparent shell a lot, as it exposed a bit of hardware inside and looks really cool. But how much money I spent on this GBA SP mod? Game Boy Advance SP costed $44.50. Replacement shell costed $18.23. IPS Screen Module costed $40. And I spent $3.23 on transparent buttons, making a total of $106. If you are planning to do mod for your GBA SP, I will leave the links for all the components in the description. If you liked this video, smash that like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe button. And I see you in the next one.